Hi, I'm Terrence Bird. At Health First New Jersey, we believe everyone should be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect them and their families. That's why Health First is proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, yeah.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
I'm Steve Adubato. Let me introduce our very special guest. He is Vince Giordano. We were talking, obviously, before we were on the air. Vince Giordano is the executive director of the NJEA, the New Jersey Education Association. Good to see you, Vince.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to be here.
We're doing this program as we enter a new school year. Tenure reform, nationally recognized, historic in the state of New Jersey. Yeah. What happened? Why is it so significant?
Yeah, well, first of all, just a quick advance footnote. It is historic, but we did change the tenure law back in 1998. So it's not exactly the first time in 100 years, but the level to which it has been modified certainly is a significant change.
Right now, teachers, based on the new law,
right,
which the NJEA was a part of the negotiation, sat
were
at the table, which, hey, that was significant. No longer 3 years, now it's 4 years before a teacher's up for tenure, correct?
Yeah, the change in that regard is there will be a first-year mentoring program. That year will not count as one of the years necessary to acquire tenure. However, you would still have to get 2 positive evaluations, what they call highly effective or effective, in the next 3 years to get your tenure. So the mentoring year is strictly a year to get the first-year novice teacher on board, get them up to speed, give them the kind of help they need. It's not counted as part of the tenure process. You may recall back in December of 2010, we had a press conference. We put out a bunch of principles that we were interested in. One was a mentoring program in the first year, add a 4th year. The other was shorten the process, make it less expensive, and take it out of the bureaucracy of the courts and put it into the hands of arbitrators, because the biggest complaint the public was raising always was they take too long and they cost too much. So this law, the reason we were very happy with the final outcome of it, and we're very supportive of the law, is that it has a 4th-year mentoring, it has a shorter process, it will be much less expensive, and it will now, the cases will now go to arbitrators. So our 4 goals that we were on board with back in 2010 came out in this bill. So obviously we were supportive and
Mr. Giordano, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You are implying, Vince, by the way, the NJEA, full disclosure for those who know, is an underwriter of some of our other programming on the Caucus Educational Corporation. Vince, you seem to be saying that you're very happy with it, and you also seem to be implying that there's a bit of a détente, if you will, with Governor Christie, where there had been a lot of, let's just say, at loggerheads, because you sat at the table and you worked it out with him, his administration, the Education Department, and State Senator Teresa Ruiz, chair of the Senate Education Committee. You guys good with the governor?
Well, you know, the word détente, that's an interesting word, French term. I actually went to my thesaurus, and so after doing some research, I wouldn't use the word détente.
Give me your word.
We have worked on a tenure bill cooperatively with all the parties that you just indicated, very closely with Commissioner Cerf in the Department of Education, Senator Ruiz, and we think it's a model for a process, a collaborative, cooperative process that we ought to utilize more often. So in that regard, at least, we were able to work hand in hand and spend hours and hours. This took almost a year and a half. Lots of late night coffee, lots of pizza, I'm sorry to say. And it turned out to be something that at the end of the day was the product of a lot of compromise, a lot of collaboration. Whether or not there will be a long-range détente or some peace process, I think that'll play out in terms of what happens next, and I'd love to see the same model. Although I must say, I obviously I watched the Republican convention last night.
Let's make it clear we're taping the program literally while it'll air right after the governor's keynote speech down in Tampa. Your reaction?
Well, my overall...
to the part about, hey, the line about teachers and teachers unions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he missed an opportunity there. This was a national, broadcast, obviously. I missed an opportunity to say, look, I've even worked with the teachers union in our state where we have had...
Which he did on the tenure bill.
He certainly did. He said at the signing of the bill, he praised our involvement and thanked us for our involvement and cooperation. I don't know why he got into that at all in a national speech to support the nomination of Mitt Romney last night at all, but if he felt it was necessary, he could have gone a little bit on a higher road and said, I even got the teachers union to cooperate and find ways to reach conclusions. He kind of avoided that and got back into a little, I thought, adversarial commentary about the relationship that pre-existed. And my overall assessment of speech last night was it was a great speech for his campaign 216. I thought he made more comments about himself in that regard than he did about Romney. I think he remembered why he was there near the end of his speech, and he threw Romney a couple of
Back to education,
crumbs.
Vince.
Okay.
Okay, try this. Seniority, one of the pieces that a lot of people talk about, including Commissioner Cerf. Hey, listen, tenure reform, great start, important, historic.
Right.
However, we did not deal with the issue of if a school system is going to let people go, we should not be dealing with seniority that a teacher has years in the system as a priority. You guys drew the line on that, right?
Well, we did, and we made no bones about it. We said we're going to draw a line in the sand on this seniority issue, or this LIFO issue, as some people refer to it, last in, first out. The reason is simple. The whole reason you have seniority in the first place is that the people who put the tenure law into place understood that teachers had to be free to express themselves, to have some academic freedom, not be subject to political interference, not be subject to nepotism, not worry about that they were the highest on the salary guide, so they might be the cheapest way to go in terms of a layoff, et cetera. And those reasons haven't really changed at this point. More importantly, maybe in today's context, is that the way the new system is set up under this law and the evaluation process works, there shouldn't be a hard decision to make about who to keep. The district has a choice of removing teachers who are either partially ineffective or ineffective. And if they use the system and they remove teachers in that regard, and of course after due process and the hearing and the rest of what we fought very hard to keep in this legislation, then they'll only be left with effective and highly effective teachers. So the whole issue of seniority being a problem should go away by itself. Only time will tell in that regard, I'm sure, but we think it ought to be given a chance.
Let me get your thoughts, quick thoughts on two other issues. Teacher evaluation, talk to me about it.
Yeah, teacher evaluation, critical to the legislation on tenure that was just passed. There's been a pilot program in place this past school year, 2011-12. It involved 10 districts, 11 actually. Newark was privately funded, but 10 that were funded by public funds. And they came through that pilot, and then there's 30 districts that will be in a second phase of that pilot this coming year. It is critical that the evaluation system be fair, be reasonable, be one that everybody understands, et cetera, because it is the system upon which the decisions of employment will be made in terms of renewal or non-renewal of teachers' contracts. So we're focused on the evaluation issue very significantly.
Question, virtual charter schools, big subject, not understood, NJEA's position.
Well, we're not per se supportive or opposed to the concept of some virtual education, okay? What we are concerned about is that there are suggestions that it could totally replace our current educational system, remove the face-to-face interaction between the teacher and the student, which is really the pinpoint at which education occurs, et cetera. So the commissioner had a proposal to...
Commissioner Cerf.
Commissioner Cerf had an initial proposal to create virtual charter schools. We objected to that, and I must say, to his credit, he wisely withdrew that proposal. But then in its place, there is something called a blend charter virtual school, which means, I think from the commissioner's point of view and from others, that they're taking the traditional education and putting some of the virtual concepts in. Our review of it so far would indicate it's mostly going to be the same thing that he stepped back from earlier. So we are looking at, we did institute some litigation to stop the two schools that were scheduled for opening sometime on or about September of this year. The court did not issue a restraint, but said you can come back and argue the whole case on the merits. We are in the process right now of having more discussion about whether we'll pursue that litigation. So if we think it's a bad idea educationally, we'll challenge it. I think that's the way I would
An unresolved
summarize it.
issue.
It is currently not a resolved issue, right?
Vince, thank you for joining us. Because,
It's always a pleasure.
This is not just part of our back to school special, because these issues are always timely. Thank you, Vince, from the NJEA. Your perspective is important. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
Allison Inserro is with the Allergy and Asthma Support Group of Central New Jersey, and also involved in something called the Food Allergy Initiative. 20 million people have asthma, 9 million of them are children. Also, we're talking about food allergies as well. Your son, Colin, has...
He has asthma, he has food allergies, and he has environmental allergies.
Okay, just so we can, if we're looking at pictures of him as well. Help us on this, Allison. What the heck is the difference?
Between food allergies and asthma?
Yeah.
Well, they're both immune disorders. Food allergies is a body's abnormal response to a food, where basically instead of attacking a disease or a parasite, it attacks an abnormal, it attacks a food protein instead of a disease like a parasite.
How do you even know?
How do you even know?
How does a parent know? Like, a lot of the parents are watching right now and they're wondering, but how would they know?
Usually what happens, something happens when the child is a baby, and
For example?
For example, wheezing as a child, reactions to food, problems with solid food, problems with nursing.
Is it hives?
It could be hives.
It could be.
It could be. It could be wheezing, it could be coughing. Usually for a lot of people, it winds up as a trip to the emergency room, either with breathing problems or with
What was it with Colin?
With Colin, it was a trip to the emergency room. Every 3 minutes, a family winds up in the emergency room with food allergies.
How old was he?
He was 10 months when that happened.
He's 8 turning 9, as we said right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's so interesting to me? Right now, our producers, you told our producers that, Colin, you put together an asthma action plan.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It shows a school nurse.
Because you brought some stuff. Lay that out
Right.
for us a little bit.
So this is a spacer that delivers the medication more effectively to the back of the throat so that it gets into the lungs more easily. And this would be the medication chamber that presses down.
Got it.
And basically, whether it's an asthma action plan or a food allergy action plan, it describes to the caregiver the symptoms that you have to watch for about when you have to give medication. So for asthma, it's a numerical value that shows your peak flow meter readings when you're in the red zone, the yellow zone, or the green zone.
Hold on, but does your son have this with him?
Yes. Right now he's at a friend's house and he has his asthma medication with him. He has his EpiPens with him. He has an antihistamine with him.
The EpiPen, could you do that?
Right. Sure.
Because I'm thinking about a lot. Is that a lot of pressure for him?
Not right now. When he's a teenager, he will be responsible for all of this when he's a teenager.
He will be, and that's the EpiPen.
This is the EpiPen.
Good. What
this
is
is
that?
just a trainer. There's no medication in this, and the instructions are on this. There are many more devices coming out right now on the market recognizing the need. This is to counteract severe anaphylaxis, which is a severe allergic reaction that, if left untreated, can lead to death.
So just so I can understand this, and I'm not trivializing, I react a certain way to bee bites, and I've had that reaction. So I have that pen.
Right.
And
So you know how to use this.
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. So you pull it off like this.
Right.
You hold it in your, like this, and you go like this into the leg for 10 seconds.
What does it do?
It restores your breathing, gets your blood flowing, reduces swelling. It gives you time to get to the hospital so that you can get additional treatment.
But here's what's so interesting to me is that you have become such an advocate, you know, a leader in this effort. And I'm thinking about parents who are watching right now, many of whom are so worried about their children. The numbers again, 9 million kids across this country have asthma, right? What advice would you have for some of them who feel somewhat paralyzed and haven't been so active and so involved? What advice would you have for them?
You have to open up a really good line of communication with your doctor. School nurses need information from families and from doctors that tells them when to give medication, when to treat, who to contact in case of an emergency. Without all of that important documentation, nurses and schools are kind of at a loss, and they're operating in the dark, and they don't really know what to do in case of an emergency, whether it's for asthma, whether it's for food allergy. Every child with asthma and food allergy should have an asthma action plan, a food allergy action plan that really just lists step by step, here's what you do in case of an emergency.
Did you ever think that you'd be this much of a leader, this involved, this organized?
No, no.
Out of necessity?
Out of necessity. You know, as a parent, you want your child to not only survive, but also to thrive. And someday, he has to manage all of this on his own and has to advocate for himself and has to speak up when it's necessary so that he can be safe. 2 out of kids, basically in every classroom, has a food allergy.
2 in every classroom?
2 in every classroom
has a food allergy.
Has a food allergy. Basically 1 in 13 kids. Many more have asthma. And it's not uncommon anymore. They all know each other. They are very interested in knowing how to take care of each other and remind each other, hey, do you have your medication
Be aware.
with you? Be aware.
You know, Allison, we've been putting up the website information throughout this segment. Take advantage of it, folks. Use that information. People like Allison Inserro are out there because they want to share it. They want you to be more involved. Allison Inserro with the Allergy and Asthma Support Group of Central New Jersey. You're doing important work. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back, right after this.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
Gregory Floyd is the president of the Tri-County Scholarship Fund. Good to see you.
Great to be here, Steve.
I want to thank our friend Barb Chodos at NJ.com, the Star Ledger's partner, web partner, for introducing us to you. That's why we have partners, because they say, hey, this nonprofit's doing important work, and that's why we have this Make a Difference series on One-on-One. The Tri-County Scholarship Fund is what?
Tri-County Scholarship Fund, first of all, the 3 counties, Tri-County, Morris County, Sussex County, Passaic County. We're an organization that raises funds to give scholarships to inner city and financially disadvantaged kids so that they can attend private schools in the areas where public schools are failing them. That is not to say all public schools are failing them. I'm a product of public schools. In
Same
fact,
here.
Just found out that my public school was rated #1 in New Jersey this year, New Providence High School. But in other situations where the graduation rates from high school teeter at 50% or less, in those areas we come in because we know that the private schools can deliver a set of helps that move that graduation rate from 50% to 98%.
Scholarships, define them, because I know there's a certain amount at different levels of education. How much for high school?
Sure. So for high school, we made a big change 2 years ago. We give a $4,000 scholarship to every one of our kids who qualifies for a scholarship for high school, and for grade school, we give a $2,000 scholarship.
How do you pick these kids?
Need-based. We work with an organization that pulls all our data, all their data of 1040s and income reports and that sort of thing, and gives us a list basically starting with the most needy kids and goes up little less, little less, little less needy. But we start with the neediest kids in the 3 counties, and our scholarships are based on financial need.
Where do you get this money? Because, you know, we're a nonprofit educational production company, and we're out there every day raising money.
Yep.
I'm always curious about how other nonprofits do it in these very challenging economic times. How do you do it?
Well, this year it's our 31st anniversary, so we've had an annual dinner every year, and as our founder, Ed Hennessy, the former chairman of Allied Signal, says, Our first dinner 31 years ago cost $50,000 and raised $45,000.
I bet you changed that model.
Since then, our annual dinner raises between $800,000 and $850,000.
No way.
Yeah, and we're looking for $1 million this year. So
That is great.
everybody's welcome to our 31st anniversary dinner.
So is it a lot of corporate support?
A lot of corporate support, a lot of very faithful individual donors, but we rely on both very much. Our third leg of our three-legged stool is foundation work. We apply to foundations, family foundations, corporate foundations for help where there's a symmetry between what they want to do with their philanthropy and what our needs are.
How'd you get into this?
You know, I was running another organization called Legatus, which is an organization for Catholic CEOs and business executives, and the chaplain of that organization said to me, Tri-County has a need for a new president, and I think you'd be the right man for the job. So I put in, I've got a lot of background working with kids. I have a lot of kids. I love kids.
Hold on, you don't have a lot of kids. You have 9 kids.
I have 9 kids, that's right. Yeah.
I was going to ask how that happens, but
if you met my wife, you'd know how it happens.
What's the age range?
Got a kid who's 27 doing a PhD and somebody starting in 7th grade this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so never dull.
Never dull.
Never dull. And so I always say to people, look, I only know how to do kids one way. I don't care whether they're from Patterson or Pequannock or Bernardsville. I only do kids one way. And so it was a real natural. I had volunteered at Covenant House in my earlier years. So working with kids was a real natural. And the idea that I could be part of leveling the playing field for an equally gifted set of kids who just have some financial disadvantages that a lot of kids in the suburbs don't have was very compelling to me.
The something called the Freedom Scholars Program I'm very curious about, because I know you give approximately 600 scholarships per year.
That's right.
But this new initiative, what is it and why is it important?
Last year we started the Freedom Scholars Program where we went to our high schools. We work with about 13 high schools. We said to them, we're going to pony up $5 grand a year per kid if you pony up $5 grand a year per kid.
Match.
A match. And so this kid will basically have 4 years of high school taken care of. Imagine the pressure that takes off the parents if all of a sudden your kid can go to the top high schools in central and northern New Jersey and they're basically 95% of their financial issues taken care of. Now, there's a merit screen on this. In our other scholarships, there is no merit screen because we feel like with some of the disadvantaged situations these kids come from, it's not even fair to apply a merit screen because you don't even know what their potential is.
What do you mean a
yet.
merit screen?
Meaning academic. Whereas for the Freedom Scholars Program, we apply an academic screen. We say to their 8th grade principals, we need to know that this kid can do A or B work in a top flight high school, that this kid is the top, these kids are the top performers in your class, and they've got the goods to be able to really make it with great success in the private high schools that we're going to send them
I'm
to.
curious about this because we run a scholarship program, our Stand and Deliver not-for-profit initiative, going into our 13th year, guys, I think. Teaches leadership and communication, presentation skills, and we give out scholarships every year. They're high school students, inner city based, and they're scholarships where these young people, and we give out, I believe, 10 to 12 a year, and we try to track them. We're very curious about how they do, what they do with those dollars, and whether they succeed or not matters a great deal to us.
Sure.
To what degree do you track? To what degree do you know how these kids are doing?
So let me distinguish between Freedom Scholars and the rest of the kids.
Well, just tell me about a kid who's done really well with a scholarship. That's what I want to know.
Okay, I got 3 kids this year. One got a free ride to Cornell, one got a free ride to Colgate, and one got a free ride to Notre Dame. These
Not
are Tri-County scholarship kids. Typical profile, single mom with 3 kids making 25 grand a year. Without Tri-County scholarship, these kids would have no shot at these schools.
Say the schools again. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame,
Cornell.
Colgate, and Cornell.
Get out of here.
2 young African-American men and a young Latino woman.
How does it change their lives?
You can imagine how it changes their
when
lives.
they win, describe the reaction, their reaction, the reaction of their single parent.
Of their parents or their guardians. It's usually tears. It's usually tears. They are so overwhelmed with joy and gratitude that because Tri-County stepped in grade school or high school and gave them the academic tools for success And because they apply themselves very diligently, all of a sudden these schools are courting them and offering them literally a $250,000 scholarship.
Why?
To go to college. Because the colleges want the best and the brightest of minority kids.
So in many ways, you're helping them be in a position to be recruited by these top schools.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled with every kid who goes to Passaic County Community College,
Sure.
to Morris. You know what?
Goes to
Because
school.
They go there for 2 years. They slide right into Rutgers or Montclair State, two of the best universities around.
Sure.
I'm thrilled with that. But let's face it, when they start achieving that other level as well of Ivy Leagues courting them, it makes your day really happy in the office because, as you know, running a nonprofit, you're fundraising all the time, and it's a difficult environment to fundraise.
And also County College of Morris, one of our sponsors, is one of the finest schools in the area. I just want to
Top-ranked
clarify.
county colleges in New Jersey and probably in the whole United States.
10 seconds, how rewarding is your work?
I love my work. I love leveling the playing field for inner city and other kids with financial disadvantages.
That's what you're doing. Gregory Floyd, President, Tri-County Scholarship Fund. I want to thank our friend Barb Chodos at NJ.com for bringing us together. That's why we do what we do. Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
Health First New Jersey Medicare Plan is growing in the Garden State. Thousands of members in Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Passaic, and Union counties depend on Health First New Jersey Medicare Plan. And in January 2012, Health First New Jersey Medicare Plan will be available in Somerset and Middlesex counties as well. If you're eligible for Medicare and live in New Jersey, find out more about Health First New Jersey Medicare Plan. Health First New Jersey Medicare Plan. Feel good about your healthcare coverage.
Hello, I'm Rafael P. Roman.
And I'm Steve Adubato.
Join us every week on New Jersey Capitol Report.
Because we'll ask the questions that you want and need answered.